270 AD Rome. A messenger arrives with news so unbelievable the emperor refuses to believe it. Egypt has fallen not to a foreign king, not to a rival empire, but to a widowed queen from a tiny desert city that most Romans couldn't even find on a map. And it didn't stop at Egypt, Syria, Palestine, Asia Minor. One by one, Rome's richest eastern provinces were gone, swallowed by an empire that didn't exist 2 years ago. Rome had just one question. Who is this woman? Her name was Septimia, Zenobia, Queen of Palmyra, a jewel of a city rising out of the Syrian desert, sitting right on the Silk Road, where caravans from China, India, and Persia all passed through Palmyra, was wealthy, cosmopolitan, and technically under Roman control. But Zenobia was not a woman who did technically. She spoke 5 languages: Egyptian, Latin, Greek, Aramaic, and Arabic. She read philosophy. She hunted on horseback. She reportedly marched on foot with her soldiers for miles rather than ride in comfort while they suffered. Ancient sources describe her as having dark, flashing eyes, brilliant white teeth, and a presence that could fill a room or a battlefield. She was not born to be a footnote. She was born to be the story. Her husband, Odenathus, was Palmyrus king and Rome's ally, so useful to Rome in defeating Persian armies that they gave him the title King of Kings. Then, in 268 AD, he was assassinated, possibly by a jealous relative, the circumstances murky. And here's where most queens in history disappear from the record. They become regents in name only. They get sidelined. They fade. Zenobia did the opposite. She declared herself regent for her young son and then immediately started making moves that had nothing to do with protecting Rome's interests and everything to do with building her own empire. She had a general named Zabdas, and together they looked at a map and saw opportunity Rome in 270. AD was a mess, the empire fracturing, emperors being assassinated every few years, plague, inflation, military chaos everywhere. The center could not hold. Zenobia saw the cracks, and she walked straight through them. First, Egypt. Her army swept into Alexandria, one of the greatest cities in the ancient world. Rome's breadbasket, the source of a massive chunk of the empire's grain supply. Gone just like that. Then she pushed north and west through Syria, Palestine, and Asia Minor, until her empire controlled nearly a third of the entire Roman Empire's territory. She didn't call herself a regent anymore. She called herself Augusta Empress. She put her own face on coins, declared Palmyra an independent power equal to Rome itself, and presented herself as the living heir to Cleopatra, the last great queen of the East reborn. Rome was furious. Rome was also terrified. By 272 AD, a new Roman emperor had risen. Aurelian, disciplined, ruthless, exactly the kind of man Rome needed when everything was on fire. He marched east with his legions, and what followed was one of the ancient worlds. Most dramatic showdown, Zenobia's cavalry was actually superior to Rome's in the open field. Her armored horsemen cataphracts were some of the most feared heavy cavalry of the era. But Aurelian was smart. He let her cavalry charge retreated, let them tire themselves out in the desert heat, then hit back when they were exhausted. Palmyra fell. Zenobia fled east toward Persia, but was captured at the Euphrates River right on the edge of escape. The dream was over, and here's where history gets deliciously murky. What happened to Zenobia after her capture? Nobody agrees. Some sources say she was brought to Rome in literal golden shackles paraded through the streets. In Aurelian's, triumph, the ultimate display of Roman power. But then she was released, given a villa outside Rome, married a Roman senator, and lived out her days in comfort as a philosopher and socialite. Others say she died on the journey to Rome. Some say she starved herself rather than be paraded as a trophy. The Romans never quite agreed on how to handle her. She was too impressive to execute, too dangerous to ignore, and too famous to simply disappear. Even Aurelian, the man who defeated her, wrote letters defending her military genius to the Roman Senate and reportedly said, "If you think it was so easy, you try it." Zenobia ruled for less than 5 years. Her empire lasted even less, but she came closer than almost anyone in history to breaking Rome from the inside, not with decades of war, but with pure audacity and a moment of imperial weakness. She was sharp enough to exploit. She was captured, but she was never really defeated. History has a habit of forgetting women like Zenobia, but once you know her name, once you know what she did from that little desert city as a widow against the most powerful empire on earth, you don't forget her.